So where we're standing now, this is the second floor of the Cavalier building, or the balcony of the Cavalier building. What's interesting about this particular spot that we're standing around is that this is actually where one of our more famous ghosts, you could say, is most often sighted. This ghost is so prevalent that we've actually given her a name. We've decided to title her the Grey Lady. Where she likes to hang out is right in front of me, right here, against this railing, and she likes to look out over the parade square. From where we're standing right now, you can see the security office. They're just over there. But what's more important is that they can see us. So the commissionaires, who would be the actual guards of this fort, they like to look out their window just before they do their rounds, and what they'll often see is a lady standing right here wearing a long white flowing dress. Then they walk out of their office and they blow their whistle at her and they say, "Oh, excuse me, ma'am, the fort's actually closed right now, you're going to have to leave." To which she doesn't do anything. She just stays put. Then the commissionaire walks out across the yard, just down there in front of, well, where I'd be standing. And then they call it again. They go, "Excuse me, ma'am, the fort's closed right now. You can't be here. I'm gonna have to show you out." And again, she doesn't do anything. And then next, the commissionaire, after once again not getting an answer, follows the same path that we took to get up here, right up this set of stairs over here to my right, to come and find her. But when they get to the top of those stairs, she's nowhere to be found. But there's a few small issues of where possibly could she have gone. There is another set of stairs on the far end over that way, but that's quite the distance to make in just the time it takes for someone to clear that flight of stairs. And even if you did take off at the fastest you can possibly run, there's a bit of a problem with this floor. It's a very, very loud floor to walk on. So if you were to take off at a full-on sprint to get to the other end there, you'd be waking up people on Brunswick Street, and then they'd be asking what's going on. So there's no way that she escaped out that way. And then the next possibility is that she actually went farther up this flight of stairs. But that leads directly into the third floor, and that's where Park Canada keeps their offices here. And those doors are kept locked just about always. So she couldn't have gone up there either. And then for obvious reasons, she couldn't have gone down the same flight of stairs that the commissionaire came up. Now, reports like this that I just described to you have been seen every once in a while ever since about the early 1960s, when the commissionaires first took over here. I've heard this story from dozens of different commissionaires, probably around 100 times at this point. One year, not too long ago, someone decided to do a little bit of research to see if we could connect this story to anything else that has happened in this area. And funny enough, it actually does fit very perfectly into another story that happened in the Halifax Citadel. In 1903, there was a brigade of Royal Artillery that were stationed here. This was actually before the Canadians fully took over, so it was a British force that was here, and one of the side effects of that is that they were rotated around different areas quite a lot, and this particular group, they came from Bermuda just a few years before they were here. And among them was someone named Sergeant Major Edwards. And Sergeant Major Edwards, of course, he would have lived here in the Citadel in the garrison, but he was also supposed to be married here in Halifax not terribly long after the brigade showed up. They were to be married in a church in the North End, which would just be over there. It's actually right where the Staples is nowadays. It was called Trinity Church. And the ceremony was supposed to start at about 5 o'clock. And as 5 o'clock approaches, he is nowhere to be seen. No one at the wedding has seen him yet. The wedding party sends a messenger up to the top of the hill to come and find him, because for obvious reasons it would be rude to be late to your own wedding. And the messenger gets to the top of the hill, and the sentry out front stops him. And he goes, "Who goes there? What is your business?" And the messenger replies that he's here to find Sergeant Major Edwards, that he's supposed to be married right now, but he's nowhere to be found, and if he doesn't come with him right away, he's going to be late to his own wedding. And at this, the sentry goes a little grim, and he goes, "Oh, you haven't heard yet. Sergeant Major Edwards, he's dead. He shot himself outside his own barracks this morning." The messenger runs back to the church and explains to the wedding party that the groom is not going to be attending. The bride, she's actually quite outraged at this. She at first doesn't believe it, and her family eventually had to take her away to their family home to calm her down, because she was in such a fit at this horrible news. Then a little bit later, dug out of the same series of newspaper articles that we were able to drag that from, we found a follow-up to it that explains even more about Sergeant Major Edwards. Before he was before the wedding was supposed to take place, he was actually seen downtown shopping for something, and what he was buying was especially peculiar, you could say. He was shopping for coffins downtown, which is a strange enough thing to do in its own right, especially before a wedding. But it's made even stranger when you find out what coffin he bought. He bought a coffin that matched the decor of his wedding. And he was buried in that coffin. He's still a resident of Halifax to this day. But more information came out about him as well. Someone decided to do their research into this. His peers in the army were interviewed, and they revealed that when they were in Bermuda, he was already married. Now, when people asked him, when he was to be married here in Halifax, when people asked him what that was about, he never was able to quite keep the story straight. To some, he would say that they were divorced before they left, or that she died. But what was actually true was that his wife was still alive, and they were still married, but she was, before they left, condemned to an asylum and left behind in Bermuda. They weren't able to take her with them. So many people think that what drove him to do what he did here was actually the guilt of marrying someone else while still being married to his first wife. One thing that I haven't mentioned until now is that we actually know exactly where his barracks was. It was said that he shot himself just outside his barracks, and we know exactly where it was. It was none other than this room that I've been standing in front of this whole tale. Do I have any volunteers to come and touch where Sergeant Major Edwards died?
I will, yeah.
You're officially haunted. You get to bring home a free ghost.
Here you go.
Free ghost, all to yourself.
I'll bring it home.
Now, how this connects to the Grey Lady that I started off with here is that the description of what she's wearing very, very closely matches a wedding dress. So many people believe that it is the lingering spirit of Sergeant Major Edwards' bride.